You're listening to the Served Up Show, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful content. Your hostesses, Bridget Albert, is best known as the Market Fresh Mixologist, an industry mentor with over 25 years of experience. And I'm Julie Milroy, best known for my passion for leading change and helping others grow in their careers. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry.
Hey y'all, it's Bridget here. Today we're thrilled to introduce our guest, Jenna Murry, the account director for trade advocacy at Sidecar. Jenna brings to the table a wealth of experience and a diverse skill set that is truly impressive. Her deep understanding of the beverage trade industry and her knack for driving creative solutions for her clients set her apart as a remarkable leader in the field. She has a keen eye for innovation and her commitment to excellence. Jenna has carved out a unique path within our industry. Tune in as she dives into her strategies, challenges, and triumphs, offering invaluable perspectives on navigating the dynamic world of the beverage trade. Get ready to be inspired by Jenna Murray's expertise and passion for driving positive change. Welcome, Jenna. Jenna, welcome to Served Up. I am so excited to have you on the show today.
I'm so excited to be here.
Well, thank you. And can you tell our listeners a bit about yourself, really about your journey, where you started off in the hospitality industry and where you are today?
Yeah. So I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I was just a beer and a shot pub bartender at a family-run joint. But I think starting it at a place like that, learning that bartending is like so much more than just the beverages that you serve. Working for a family and a husband and wife really just hit home for me that the hospitality industry is just so much more than, like I said, serving a drink and chatting with the customer. And I think from there, I really fell in love with the pub. And then as time went on, I moved into restaurant and fine dining bartending and felt like I had really outgrown the Milwaukee scene. It's a big city, but wasn't what was the end goal for me. So I picked up my bags and I moved to Chicago and I started working in hospitality at a higher level. Which included hotels, more fine dining, opening new spots in hot spots around town. So I really elevated my bartending career, and it just so happened to be at the cusp of like what I would now call the cocktail renaissance, I guess, time frame. So just very fortunate. I always say just being in the right place at the right time is sometimes all you need to advance your career. And that's what happened to me. And as my job in bartending became more advanced and took on more responsibility with like different things like inventory and creating cocktails and menus and all of that, that led me into brand ambassador work and working for brands. I've always been a lover of whiskey, and that was like the category I really stuck to. So specifically in the Scotch world, and that's where my brand ambassador kind of career really took off in whiskey. And then from there, I ended up where I am now, which is running advocacy programs for several different companies and really taking all the insights I learned from the field and putting that into place in more of a management style role.
You've had such a long career, and it's so cool that you really have had that 360 experience, right? And hospitality. Can we take it back to that golden age of the cocktail, like kind of that second golden age of the cocktail, as you referred it? Because, maybe some of our listeners are curious a little bit about the history of the current like renaissance of the cocktail that's happening, that's still really happening. And just talk to what that was like for you.
for me, I came, like I said, from pub bartending, and I just never even really thought about cocktails on that level. Like I made old fashions for my mom. And I mean, as a Wisconsin gal, we've been in front of that cocktail like for our whole lives.
Did you put Sprite in it?
We're a squirt family. So grapefruit soda.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So brandy old fashioned sour with a cherry and 2 olives. That's my family go-to. Such a weird recipe. But I think when I moved to Chicago, I really started to realize that craft bartending could be a longevity career. And there was just the exploration of ingredients and also learning all these new products that I had never seen before. I really threw myself into the ring with not a lot of experience. I always kind of laugh about, I thought I was this amazing, cool bartender until I got my first job with a real cocktail menu. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I have to bring my note cards to work every day. I don't even know what this stuff is. Googling like underneath the well to figure it out. But I think that's the beauty of this time that we are in with cocktails, is because not only are we ever evolving and learning about fresh ingredients and juice and using, modifiers and products that maybe you've never heard of before, or exploring like, I don't know, yuzu or whatever it is. There was just such a beauty in watching everybody figure those things out on their own time again. We go back and we became like these historians that were really interested in cocktails. And I'm just so proud to be a part of that time frame, because it was super important, I think, for where we are now. We've come a long way, but wow, just to watch it all happen in real time. I mean, it's pretty fortunate. We're the fortunate few who got to see it, I think.
I think it's terribly wonderful that we were able to be part of such a special time and still here today,
Yes.
which is super cool. And so when you talk about, really stepping out from behind the bar and into a brand ambassador role, there was a time when there was no such thing as a brand ambassador, right, in our industry. And now you can find one on every corner. And so you were really became one of the brand ambassadors within that sweet spot of the beginning of of the brand ambassador movement. Can you talk about what that was like for you? And even, as a female in that role, because it was a unique thing, by the way, to be a woman brand ambassador during that time, and some of those challenges that you faced and overcame.
Being a woman brand ambassador was a little bit different. And then also I sat in the Scotch whiskey space. So super interesting and definitely an interesting perspective. When I first took my first brand ambassador job, it was part-time. I was still bartending. And I said, I'm going to take this role and really see if it is for me. However, I did study marketing in school. So for me, it was like such a great hybrid of my passion and love for hospitality, and then what you can do from a marketing side for a brand. But I do think in the beginning, we were all figuring it out together. I don't know if suppliers really even knew why we were there. But at the same time, we provided some really good insights on cocktails for them. We provided a network of people that they maybe didn't have access to before. There's just so much that goes into being a brand ambassador that is much more than, the outward appearance of what a brand ambassador is. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes. You really get some interesting insights into what developing a brand is, a launch of a product. Like there's just so much that happens behind the scenes. And then we get thrown out into the wild to be the face of this brand, which is amazing. And there's travel and there's good food and there's great drinks and there's meeting people. However, behind all of that, you really are getting a good inside look onto how building a brand works and the insights into like analytics of a brand, your competitive set, what depletion rates are for your category. There's just so much to learn from behind the scenes. And I think that's what intrigued me about doing brand ambassador work, as well as being a piece of visibility for women in this industry. And to your point, I was probably not in the first wave of BAs, but maybe like the secondary generation wave where there was people I already had to look up to that worked on other brands and really helped pave the way for what a brand ambassador's role could be. I don't know. It's just such a funny thing to look back at it now after like a decade of being in brand work, what we are to the public, like what do they think we do all day or whatever? But there's just so much that goes on that I think most people don't realize. And then we become the voice of the brand's plans and how they envision themselves and what they see themselves looking like out into the public, or, educating people on category specific things as well. Which I think really holds a big part of BA work is loving the category and the product that you work on, never take a job that you don't believe in, and then educating our consumers and also trade to the best ability possible. If I look back at it and I think about the consumers that I sampled during whiskey tastings 10 years ago to the consumer I've tasted a year ago on whiskey, they've learned a lot and they're listening to us. So that's great.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think that the word brand ambassador it's not a big enough title for what the individuals in that career actually do and the sacrifices that they really do make, because I know that it requires a lot of time on a plane most of the time, lack of sleep, maybe some odd hours. Can we talk briefly about maybe the unsexy side, let's say, of being a brand ambassador?
Yeah, to your point, there is a lot of lack of sleep. You spend a lot of time on an airplane and away from your friends and family. I feel like you miss the little things like, going to my niece or nephew's like soccer game on a Saturday morning, like, cause I'm on a plane coming home. There was a period of time where I think I was home like on Sundays and that was it, but that's okay. I got to see a lot of the country, a lot of the world. But the less sexy stuff, I think, lies, with a lot of like the time. I think it's a lot of time away. I think the lost weekends, the later nights, and then the early mornings. Like sometimes you may have a dinner that leads into, an account visit, and all of a sudden you're getting back to your hotel at midnight and you have to be at that GSM at 8 a.m. to be prepared for your presentation. And so there's just a lot of those nuances that are a lot less sexy than buying everybody around at the bar.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And so once you, really put yourself out there as a brand ambassador and thought, what's next for Jenna? What was in your mind? Like what really brought you to where you are today?
I will say the what's next question, I think, is where we all grapple with what we want to do. I don't know if there is sometimes the what's next for people in our roles. And I think it's really, really important to empower your brand ambassadors when you lead them to take those 6-month, 9-month check-ins during your yearly review to talk about what you want to do next. I think there's this weird gap here, and it exists within our world of what's next for the BA. They don't really fall in line always necessarily to go directly to work on the brand team. Maybe they don't want to data crunch all day on numbers when you're like an associate brand manager. Maybe you really are honed in to the product. However, it just doesn't always fall in line that that's the direction you want to go. Then there's the sales direction. You could move into a sales role and like really hone in on maybe your local market and become a key account manager or a state manager. But I really wasn't into the sales either. I really was into advocacy, and I really believed in advocacy. And I thought to myself, like, with what was to come next is to be a great leader for people that eventually want to be in BA work and work in the field. There's a lot of times this gap between what happens in the office and then what happens in the field. And the brand ambassador is actually most of the time the liaison for those roles of like what's happening in the sales dynamics outside in the wild, what's trending, what flavors are cool, to what's going then on behind the scenes in the office on a brand team. So to me, it was very, very, very important to create a next step for myself in advocacy so that brand ambassadors know that there is somewhere for them to go. I feel like a lot of times it does feel like you plateau, and you may be the best brand ambassador out there, but you have to kind of think about what you want to do next. And the lifestyle is, I don't know how to say this politely, but the lifestyle is very draining. So I think there comes a time where it's like, okay, I don't want to be on the road anymore. I don't want to be away from my family. Maybe you want to have a family. Maybe there's just so many things that come into play where it's to think of what's next. So I went to a third-party agency, and now I work at a marketing agency in which I'm the director of their trade advocacy programming. And I have never been happier to impart a lot of my wisdom onto like these newer up and coming brand ambassador folks, or hybrid sales folks that work on like both sales and marketing in the field, just to be able to give them like a perspective of I've been there, because I've never had a boss that's had that perspective. And so it's just really interesting.
You know, it's funny when you say you've never had a boss that has had that perspective. I think that there's so many listeners that can relate to that. I can relate to that. You know, when you're in this weird, unique role that really isn't that old. Brand ambassadors for spirits is still quite fresh and new. You know, it hasn't been around for hundreds of years, folks. It hasn't been around for that long, maybe a couple decades. That's it. And so I think that we're still trying to figure a lot out. And, you know, I don't believe in work-life balance, by the way. I think it's a crock of shit. I do believe that there is something called satisfaction, though, and rest, and being, you know, and prioritizing where you want to put your energy, let's say. And so with that said, can you talk about the company that you work for? You know, what is it called? What exactly does your day-to-day look like? And, you know, really, how are you championing these folks that you're kind of supporting, right, as they're embarking on their careers?
Yeah. So now I'm at a lovely agency called Sidecar, and I love our name. I think it's just so cute because we are partners to the world's best drink brands, and we specialize in the spirit space. So we don't take on any clients that live outside the universe of spirits, wine, and beer. And I truly believe that at Sidecar, we are experts in bringing drink brands to life, because as my journey from BA, from brand ambassador to this role I have now happened is, of course, networking. I was at BCB in Brooklyn. I was catching up with an old friend who works at Sidecar currently. And we were just talking about advocacy. And she was like, you know, we have these brand ambassador programs. We could really use your insights. And that's kind of how that happened. And I got brought onto the team. And they pretty much created almost a role that was like trade advocacy focused for me. And I think it's great. I think at Sidecar, like I said, focusing on, we have such a great team of people that have worked on so many spirits brands and come from so much experience on spirits brands that we, I think, provide our clients with such great work because we're passionate about cocktails and drinks. Like there's nobody there that isn't Bar Smart certified. There's nobody there that hasn't taken like some sort of level of WSET. There's nobody there that's been completely brought in the blinds. In our interview processes with Sidecar, we ask everybody right off the bat, what's your favorite cocktail and why? And I think it really opens up the tone for us to understand that they know we are in the drinks space and we want you to love it just as much as we do. And then as far as like managing my team in the field, you know, I come from a really good place of understanding. I think a lot of the hiccups and the qualms or the complaints, I can relate to because I've lived them and I've been there. And I think that's the great part about leading a team when you've done the role. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. Like I said earlier, leading a team once you've done the role, it just really opens up really great lines of continued communication that maybe I didn't always feel like I had. And I want to provide that, I think, to the best of my ability. But I used to roll up things that happen in the field. And I think sometimes to people in an office, it seems so little and small. But when you're in market and you are the daily face that people see, those little things that may seem small to someone else aren't that small, you know? And it's so for me to be able to have that understanding with them and say, you know, I know that may seem small to someone in behind a desk and a computer, but I've lived through that and it's not small and I understand that. And let's tackle how we're going to get this problem from A to Z and over the line, because I don't know, everybody doesn't understand individual markets like needs and wants to. You may have like a small scale chain in your market who does a lot of big business, and it might not be, you know, a name brand chain that we know that's all across the US, but it could be 60% of your small brand's business if you get on the right page with them. For me, my management style is open line of communication. Nothing is too small to come to me about. And if you're experiencing it, I probably already have. So let's figure out a solution.
Which is amazing, which is absolutely amazing. Let's talk a little bit more about Sidecar and its approach. And take me through the process. Do brands approach Sidecar to be part of your portfolio? Is it the other way around? Is it individuals? Like, kind of take us through that process.
So we do both. We will go to people that we, know directly in the business and present a capabilities deck to them. But however, we've also specialized in experiential. So people get to see our work in real time at Tales of the Cocktail or, these larger style consumer or trade facing shows. So it's great because if you like the work, you ask who did your booth and we say Sidecar, and then hopefully we get a new client out of it. As far as the advocacy department goes, we work really directly with suppliers that want to have brand ambassadors out in the field, but maybe don't have the capacity to manage them in-house. And, I think from when we approach a client about a BA program or a brand activation manager program, we can come to them and say, we have the top notch expertise on how to run them. I mean, I hope my name comes with a little bit of clout. But if not, we do have really great analytics. We have a great reporting department. We do top notch BA work. We roll up reports to them that really show the impact that the BA has in the market through data and numbers as well. So I think that's a great piece of the puzzle that we can provide.
That is absolutely amazing. So it's almost like, a one-stop shop.
Absolutely. Yes. We do rebrands. We do social media. We do experiential. We do advocacy. So everything that you would want in a spirits agency, I think we have. So it's great. And the team there is just so phenomenal. Like I couldn't glow more about it. We have offices in London, New York, and Chicago. So we have such a wide span of work that we can do too from each of our, hubs. After 10 years, almost 10 years with the same company, I would have never left unless I believed in the work that they were doing. Mm-hmm. When you fall in love with a job, you'd stay forever, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I loved my job as a brand ambassador as a national brand ambassador, but I just really knew in my mind that I have had so many different experiences in management style that to be able to come from that field and really want to manage people now that do those roles was important to me, and to manage them efficiently and with the right tools and the right processes in place and creating ways of working for them that make sense and that aren't just off by a bit. I don't know how else to describe it. Ways of working for a brand ambassador is so fly by night, organic, changes daily.
Right. Right.
It's to be able to manage those people with an understanding of that is really important.
What do you think makes a good brand ambassador?
So many things, but I do think like being really passionate about your product, Bridget, is like so important. Like if you take an interview because you think you just want to be a brand ambassador because it looks cool on paper, take a moment, 30 minutes to reevaluate what you want to do for your career path. I know a lot of people that have also become a brand ambassador and then said, not for me, I'm going back to the bar. And I think that's a really great realization to have as a person, just to be like, I love the bar and that's, I belong behind the bar, and it's nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not for everybody. But I think a good brand ambassador really embodies the brand, is passionate about the category that they speak to, wants to educate people. It is at the end of the day about education. It's how we create the next generation of really good bartenders too, by engaging with them and giving them all the information that we've learned. My least favorite person is someone who gatekeeps. It's like, just share what you know. It's how we get to be better and grow. So education for sure. I know this is going to sound silly, but like a dynamic, personable personality that like is somebody that you want to spend some time around, that's genuine. I think the best BAs that came from the bar and then grow into a brand ambassador and become great examples of BA work are just really down to earth, personable, organic people that want to share their wealth of knowledge with you, without it coming off as like a teacher, but more of like a colleague, I think is the best way to describe it. I think you really got to love it. I think you just really have to love the brand, the job, the spirits category, and live and breathe it. If you really do become the brand and the brand becomes you. And I think don't lose yourself in that for sure. However, top-notch BAs really start to almost blend the two together. It's like, do you ever meet somebody and their husband, and after like 40 years of marriage, they start to look like each other? That's how I felt about the Glenlivet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, God, I didn't know how to, we were one and the same at that point,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Now you grew up in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to college?
I did. I went to Marquette University, nice little Jesuit school in Milwaukee. I stayed in Milwaukee for college, and I studied marketing. So I did have a little bit of that in me and in my background. But honestly, when I graduated, it was like 2007, 2008 time. What a terrible time to try to get a job. And I just stayed in hospitality and I really loved it. And I have no regrets staying in hospitality. I remember people being like, well, why get an education if you're just going to be a bartender? And I was like, I think you're thinking of it wrong. Like I became a bartender to make my way through my education, and now I am a bartender, so I just stayed with it and stuck with it. And I have absolutely zero regrets loving, living, and breathing hospitality. I can't believe all the doors that it's opened for someone like me. It's wild.
Well, when you say someone like you, what do you mean?
I don't know. I had a single mom, I paid for my school myself. I just never thought I'd like go to Scotland twice a year and visit distilleries. And it just was never in my mind that like this kind of job and being a bartender and then becoming a brand ambassador could really, really grow my career in a way that I didn't think was possible, And I think that's the beauty in the hospitality industry, is because there are a lot of different avenues you can go down that you maybe didn't realize were possible. I have a very close friend who I bartended with, who linked up with Marriott and now is like their mixologist, like nationally, and if not potentially globally. So it's just like, you think about those moments where it's like you were just a bartender, which is such a lame way to tell somebody they didn't do good, And we are awesome people. We thrive on social interaction and guests and making people happy. But there's so many avenues that you can go post that if you really want to explore doing more. Like hotels is such a good example of like a space where there's endless opportunities to do things in hotels. Like there's just so much.
So much. I came from a hotel background, opening the Bellagio in Las Vegas. Since then, I've done work, for the Hiltons, the Ritz-Carltons of the world, you name it. And it's just, you have to think like in a hotel, not only do you have bars, you have restaurants as well. You have room service, you have banquets. Banquets, don't sleep on starting out as a banquet bartender if you can get the gig.
Yeah, they're not easy. They're not easy to get.
Not easy at all, because it usually pays very well.
Yes.
Oh
yeah, I definitely have a cocktail waitress served, bartended my fair share of banquets. One of my college jobs actually, like, you can get a university job. I worked banquets in the alumni hall where I served like people during their, reunions or alumni meetings or whatever, and weddings and all of that stuff. So such a fun world to be in. And who doesn't love events? Right. Who doesn't like to go to weddings? Like, I love it. You get to be part of it, but like a little removed. It's awesome.
Well, I think when we talk about the term hospitality, that it runs broad, wide, and deep, right? And when you said, well, someone like me, I can't believe it. It really hit my heart when you said that, because I think that thought a lot about myself. I didn't go to college. I come from a small town, but thanks to hospitality, I've traveled the world. I've made a lot of great friends. I have a career. I barely graduated high school. So I think hospitality is a place for everyone. And I think it's a place where you can apply yourself and find yourself,
I completely agree and stand with you in that statement. And it is true. My mom, still works in hospitality. She works at arena venue, and she is a suite attendant, and she loves it. And she keeps mobile, and keeps moving. And, she's like, I'll stay for as long as they'll have me. If I can be 80 and still running around these hallways, I'll do it, So to your point, also, it can be such a longevity career if you find something that you really love and in a spot you love. And yeah, it is an underrated path that needs to be championed a little bit more, because the people that I've met in this world, in this industry, in hospitality, are the warmest, kindest, kookiest, goofiest misfit group of all time, but in the best way. And I think we interact with all kinds of people when you work in a restaurant, and they become your family. And wow. And any aspect of hospitality, I still think about it, like, especially if you're on an opening team, I still talk to some of those people like it was yesterday, and we were part of something big. We opened a Jean-Georges restaurant together. That is wild to me. And I am like so proud that we did that. And we still talk about it. It's like a special place in our hearts, because when you open something with a group of people, it is a lot of work. And it is also very rewarding to see that door open and let people come see what you've worked on for the past couple of months for the first time. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of folks, at least nowadays in the culture that we live in, which is much different than the culture, especially from when I first started in hospitality, everybody's kind of shying away from that word family, because sometimes families can be filled with, toxic intention, whatever. However, the best places that I've ever worked in, I have felt like I was part of not only a team, but a family. I felt like people had my back and I had theirs. And we actually didn't put up with a lot of the toxic bullshit.
Right. Yeah. You weed them out.
You try to weed them out.
Yeah, you try.
Right? You definitely try to weed them out. What excites you today about the beverage industry?
Oh, wow. I think we are at a great point where we've established, ourselves. We put a little stamp on the world. Heck, we have a cocktail making TV show. We've made a little bit of our mark that I don't think we had before. We lived in a very chef driven world, and we do just as much in that kind of space and capacity of creativity, and cocktails really are on the same plane, I guess is the best way to say it. And we've really kind of made our stamp. Now it's like, how do we keep it there? We've stepped onto candy cane lane and now we got to make it to the finish. And, but it's just, I think that's the cool and exciting part right now. And I think people are also discovering spirits they've never tried before. Agave spirits being a great example of like, there is so much history in agave spirits and people only really knew tequila. And that was what was cool in 1985, you know? And so there's the exploration of products, I think, which is really, really fun for us. And I am very excited to see some of the classics come back. I feel like we got real wild with the 15 touch cocktails and now we're honing it back into these 2-touch classics. I'm an advocate for any highball situation at any point in time. Anything can be a highball and it's 2 ingredients and you can make it at home and it's delicious.
Yeah.
So I think that's exciting. Like I want to see the Cosmo come back. I think martinis are on an all-time high again, which is so fun to see. And just like the exploration of like, you know, just those easy, I don't know, Mad Men era cocktails. I don't know how else to describe it. It's fun to me to see them kind of making a comeback. That being said, people wise, I think I'm very, very, very excited to see what this next generation of current bartenders are about to become. They're just such a fun group of people. They're dynamic. They are comfortable in their selves. They're just fun to watch. I think. I don't know. Am I aging myself, Bridget? Are we aging ourselves here? It's fun to watch this generation of like free spirited cocktail makers, which I think is a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
Because everything that we've kind of like laid up for them is relating and sticking. And so, yeah, the flavor choices are really interesting. I had a bok choy cocktail the other day, which was
you did. What was that like?
Delicious.
Choy.
And weird. And I know like the R&D for that had to be so odd, but it was so good. So I just think, you know, I'm excited to see what's to come and what they're going to do next.
Are you seeing more diversity in the beverage community than you had, let's say, than when you began?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a totally different world. I love it. I feel like we're so diverse now. And I feel like I said, we've always kind of been a group. Hospitality has always been a little bit of a place for anybody, you know, at any point in the stage of life. Hospitality typically opens the door with open arms. And there's just so many different facets of a job in hospitality that gives people an equal opportunity, whether that's, you know, back of the house or front of the house or whatever. We've always kind of embraced that. But I do think that the people that were visible to guests behind a bar or, you know, had certain roles. And I think that's kind of like, we've grown from that at this point. You know, the twirly mustache and the suspenders is long in the past. And I am proud that we are past that world. I'm not knocking it. I mean, we all had to start and discover somewhere, but I do think that the world of diversity now is like amazing to see. It's like the LGBTQ community bartender doesn't just have to work in Boys Town and like they can explore beverage jobs at amazing, fantastic, cool restaurants. I just think that we've expanded upon where we pigeonholed people and where they seem to have belonged in certain bar and restaurant scenarios. I mean, I remember going into my first bar gig and them being like, "Oh, are you here for your cocktail shift?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." And so I think we've come a long way since then, you know, the assumptions that we had certain roles.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I remember, and I won't say where, but I remember going into a job interview and the person said to me, you know, "Are you sure you don't want to be a cocktail server? You would make so much money." I was like, no, no, I want to wear pants and I want to wear tennis shoes and I want, you know, and I'm not knocking the cocktail servers at all because they made a shit ton of money and, you know, but that was not for me. It just wasn't for me. So I do love where we are now versus where we were then. And I think that it's just going to continue to get better.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also so proud of all of the like inclusivity that we have that I see when I was on the road. Like a lot of brand ambassador work is going to conventions and being present at all these different cities and functions that happen across the US. And so I really did get like a close up view of an evolving industry as it was happening, which is so crazy. If I look back at what a Tales of the Cocktail looked like 10 years ago, it looks much different now. And it's not a bad or a good thing that we've evolved. I think it's just we've evolved and it's amazing to see. And I think you get a really nice up close, intimate view of like what's going on in the bartending world today when you get to attend those things as somebody who's like not a bartender anymore, because you're looking at it from the outside in at this point. I don't know. I just don't know how to describe it. I feel like young up and coming bartenders right now are really wanting that connection to each other. And I see it in real time. And I think it's awesome. I hear people talk about their staffs as if like, there's like, if let's say they're the beverage director and they talk about their staff as if they are pumping them up to like win, the biggest boxing match of the year, which is amazing. I just really love that it's so open now and everybody is very, willing to kind of be very vocal about their teams and what's going on. And, we've moved past that point of this is what's happening in my cocktail bar. And I don't want to share my recipes with anybody else because I'm afraid that somebody's going to copy me. And like that I feel like that's over. And I'm really
so glad that is over.
Me too.
I hated that.
And I think for that goes to say for brand ambassador work too. I think it used to be a little gatekeepy in that world too. Like there's only so many brands. Now there's endless brands. And if you want to be a brand ambassador for a small niche brand, give them a call, send them an email, because I guarantee maybe they don't even know that kind of programming exists and or would be willing to talk to you. Like, I think they would. I think they'd be like, wow, we didn't know that we could have somebody like you that's this passionate about our product out there speaking the good word. So yeah, I think just being so open and now I see everybody being so vulnerable about all of their work. It's amazing.
I absolutely love that. Would you be up to doing a lightning round with me?
Yes.
Okay. Are you ready?
My. Okay. I'm
just doing this off the top of my head.
I love it. I'm nervous, but I'm here. I'm ready for it.
Okay. Let's start off with martini or dirty martini?
Martini.
Cheese pizza or pineapple pizza?
Cheese.
Pub or craft cocktail bar?
Pub.
Okay. Very good. Cocktail bars in the United States or cocktail bars in the UK?
Oh, cocktail bars in the UK.
Oh, did you just say that?
I did.
Gosh, that's so funny. Dave Matthews or Bono?
Oh, Dave Matthews, my hero.
I know he is. Manhattan or old fashioned?
Old fashioned.
Bartender or mixologist?
Bartender.
Yeah, I agree with you so much. Jenna, thank you for spending time with me today on Served Up. It's been a real joy having you here. I just have to tell you. And, I just want to wish you just some great health and a lot of peace. So thank you for being on the show.
Thanks, Bridget.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of future Served Up episodes. Cheers!